Hello, my name is Lindsay Ryan. I am a fifth grade teacher and I teach at Bath Elementary in Bath, Michigan. I started off teaching in Utah actually. I taught for 2 years out there, fourth and fifth grade. Um, and they use the Common Core state standards as well. And so um, my experience in both of the places that I taught, I've done Common Core. And so those are the standards that I'm focusing on for my flowchart. um, a little background about why I chose the fifth grade mathematics. At my school, we departmentalized for the fifth grade, and there's three of us. Each of us have our homeroom for the language arts portion. Um, so I teach an hour and a half of language arts, but then the rest of my day, I do the math for all the other fifth grade classes. And so that's why I chose to specifically focus on mathematics, Common Core state standards, because that takes up the bulk of my day, um, and so that would be the most useful thing for me to do. Um, so here's my flow chart, and I've explained um, what I use the standards for, and then how I plan my instruction off the assessment off the standards, and basically everything that I do from there. So enjoy my explanation of my flow chart. I am a fifth grade math teacher, like I said. Um, that's most of what I teach. And so I decided to focus on the math standards. Um, I use the Common Core state standards for fifth grade mathematics, and so that's where I started. Um, as soon as the state of Michigan adopted the Common Core state standards, my school district they started to look into um, they started to look into some math curriculums that we could use. And so if you look at my flow chart, it all starts with Common Core state standards for fifth grade mathematics. And then from there, we use those standards to choose our district math curriculum. And the math curriculum, we looked at a couple curriculum programs, and we chose Go Math. And Go Math is completely based off of all the standards. Every single lesson that is in that math book, at the top of it, lists the standards that it teaches, and then also puts it in kid-friendly language as well, which is really nice. And so our math curriculum, the math curriculum that I use, plays a really big part um, in my instruction because it is directly tied to the Common Core state standards. So I put that up there right underneath the state standards because the standards led us to the curriculum. And then right underneath the math curriculum, I have teacher planning and instruction. So really this is supposed to represent the planning, the preparation, and deciding, for example, the timing of instruction and the order of instruction. Um, a lot of that is based off of the math curriculum, off of the Go Math textbook, and off the Go Math materials, and so that's why I have it directly to the curriculum. I decide on what standards that I think are the most important, and then I plan from there using the curriculum. I don't follow the curriculum directly in the order that the math book has it set up in. I switched it again based off of these Common Core state standards. Um, I wanted to make sure that I hit things that were really important, and I kind of planned it in order of importance and to make it build up on each other. Um, so it doesn't necessarily go with the curriculum, but um, from there, with my planning and planning how to do instruction, um, I have a two-way arrow that goes to whole group instruction. This is like the first tier um, of my math instruction for my class. So I will plan the lesson, which is directly tied to the standards. Usually it's just one standard per lesson so that I don't have too much of a cognitive load for my students. And so, based off of the standard that I've chosen for the day, we'll do a whole group instruction. And then I have another two-way arrow that goes from whole group instruction to formative assessment would be what I use to see how well the students learn the material from that particular lesson. In this case, with the flow we're going in right now, would be from whole group instruction. And so some formative assessments that I might use a ticket out the door where they have to perform a problem and hand it to me. I do homework as a formative assessment, and then I check the homework to see how well the students learned it through that. I do a lot of in-class formative assessment, like maybe thumbs up or show me on your fingers, 1 through 5, things like that. So I do a lot of formative assessment in my math class. The reason that I have a two-way arrow between formative assessment and whole group instruction is because sometimes, based off the formative assessment, I might find that the entire class as a whole needs some remediation in that concept, and it really did not reach the standard that I wanted them to for that lesson. And so sometimes, based off my formative assessment, I need to go back to whole group instruction, and I would need to reteach so that they get that standard that I'm focusing on, which is the other reason why I have a two-way arrow between whole group instruction and teacher planning instruction, because based off that formative assessment, I might have to replan a whole other whole group instruction. And so these are very fluid between each other. It's not just a one-way flow here. I have a couple more things coming off of formative assessment. Sometimes based off of formative assessment, I might find that the entire group wasn't reteaching, so I wouldn't go back up to whole group. I might go to small group differentiated instruction. So this is where I would take small group, and if they need remediation, I would do a remediation group. Some groups just need practice. Other groups might need an enrichment, where they do some higher order thinking with it. And so, based off the formative assessment, I would plan from there what kind of small group differentiated instruction I want. And also, sometimes the formative assessment tells me that I need to do individual instruction and remediation. For example, if a student comes back with their homework and they have done a specific thing wrong, like if they are dividing by fractions, then they've always inverted the dividend rather than the divisor. So then I would pull up that individual, and then I would reteach, make sure that they understand it for that individual student. And so, again, making sure that they are reaching the standard from the Common Core state standards. And then it's very fluid between formative assessment, small group differentiated instruction, and individual instruction or remediation, because from here, once I worked with the small groups and differentiated instruction, I would do another formative assessment to see if that was enough. From there, I might need to do some more individual. If I do individual, I might be able to do a small group after that. So these three especially, and also perhaps the whole group instruction, are very fluid with each other because they might go, they could go in any order, and they would go back and forth too. I might do a formative assessment and decide I need some small group differentiated instruction, and then I could go from there back up to a formative assessment again. And so that's why it's not just one-way arrows. From there, you'll find that I have a very big arrow that leads all the way from formative assessment down to summative assessment. So this is where I would test them on the Common Core state standards that they were supposed to learn from that particular unit. And so I would only do the summative assessment once my formative assessment shows me that Any reteaching that needs to take place has taken place. Any enrichment has taken place, and they are ready for their summative assessment to be done with that chapter. And so that's why I go from a formative assessment down to a summative assessment to make sure that the class is prepared. And so our Go Math series of our math curriculum comes with assessments. So every time that I give a summative assessment, um, actually next to every individual problem in the teacher's manual, they list exactly what Common Core State Standard that question is tied to. And so I can point to any question or entire test, and I can tell you exactly what Common Core State Standard that it's asking about, or what it's testing to see if the students know. Once the summative assessment is done, then it's not like we drop the material and go cold turkey, because those standards, they still need to be reinforced throughout the entire year. So that's why after a summative assessment, I have a spiral review, because we still need to go back and make sure that the students are remembering these concepts even after the summative assessment. And so the spiral review goes all the way up here, the teacher planning and instruction again, because the teacher needs to plan how he or she wants to incorporate the spiral review and instruction. And then sometimes I find that if when we're doing the spiral review, sometimes the students have just plain forgotten some of the steps of an algorithm or something like that. And so from here, the entire cycle might start again, where if I find as in general on the whole class just has forgotten the steps of the algorithm, they just need to be taught as a whole again, then we might go back to a whole group instruction during our spiral review. It wouldn't be as long as the first time around, because they just need to be reminded, but it could possibly be a whole group thing. I might plan that maybe just a small group needs the intensive spiral review, maybe just individuals need it. So again, from there, it becomes a whole other cycle of assessing, instructing, and practicing to make sure that the state standards that we've used have not been forgotten about, and they're not left after the summative assessment. So that would be the flow that I use the Common Core State Standards in for my 5th grade math classes. Again, it's not just a one-way kind of flow chart. There's a lot of back and forth, and it all comes back, no matter what, it all comes back up to the state standards, because everything revolves around those standards. Every single thing that we're practicing, everything that I'm assessing, all comes directly from the set of standards that the state of Michigan